We brought it up briefly on the first episode where Steph is at.
Yeah.
Right? So Steph has a unique opportunity. He's shopping around, kind of doing the world tour of sneaker brands and shoes. What would be, if you had to give Steph like a step-by-step guide, I guess, maybe on like the route that he should go, what would that be?
Yeah, the Steph Curry situation is interesting, man. I don't think we've seen anything like that in basketball where, someone as iconic as he is not having, this partnership kind of, disintegrating the way that it did, whatever it was that caused it. To have this superstar just kind of like on the sneaker free agent market like this. I guess the closest thing that I could come up to, and I'm a huge tennis fan, is the Roger Federer situation. For anybody who might be familiar with that, Federer kind of went through something very similar where, he had his Nike deal and he had his RF mark that Nike created and he wanted the rights to it. And I think they went through litigation for like 5 years. Ultimately, he ended up winning it. And then partnering with On Running, which ended up being like an extremely boss move.
Yeah, we talked about that
to do that and being a partner, because now they're like 10 billion or something like that in market cap, maybe more, where they're at right now as a company. And then on the apparel side, partnering with Uniqlo. So the end of his career, he was wearing Uniqlo clothing. And then actually at one point he was still playing in his Nikes because the On tennis shoe hadn't been ready yet. And I think right as he got in his last year, he played and finally was able to play in the On running shoe. But anyway, so with Steph, he's in a very interesting position. And what do you do, right? Does he go sign with a big brand, which I hear everyone's, oh, is he going to go to Nike? Is he going to go back to Nike? Does he sign with Jordan? Does he do Adidas? And I don't see that happening. Me personally, I don't think Steph selling shoes or a brand trying to give him a signature shoe and selling to, mid 20-year-olds is the move. I think the play for Steph is going independent, and I think he should focus on kids. I think kids is the market for him. I think that's what makes the most sense for him in the sense the Shaq model, what Shaq did for, with his Walmart thing, right? But the elevated version of that, right? Everything that Shaq's built in that machine is great. The product, on the other hand, I know it's improved and it's gotten better, but I feel like there could be a step up on that. And I think that's where Steph could live, right?
Yeah,
and I
sure.
think targeting kids, because kids love Steph and they love him because he still looks like a kid, right? And I think that's part of it. And it's they, right?
The baby-face assassin.
The baby-face assassin, man. And there's just this connection that he has to youth culture and kids of all shapes and colors, black, white, Asian, whatever. They kids love him. And I think that, to me, I think that's the opportunity.
Super relatable.
But I think the way you do exactly. But I think it has to be done through an independent path. I think, you partner with a company, like a factory lab, I'm gonna throw that out there, but, and you create an entity and you're able to leverage that entity to go raise capital and put the kind of resources and the team, which is most important, because you need to have the right people. Actually, one thing I would love to talk about, because, we had obviously LeVar Ball doing what he did with the Big Baller brand and and which I always felt was great in spirit, but the execution was terrible. And I have my own theories on why the execution was bad. But just to get back to Steph, I think that's the play, right? And then you put the right people around you, the experts in the space, to build that product and leverage his likeness, obviously, and attach a machine to it and do it and focus on that. Markets are so fragmented and so all over the place. And this is what all the big brands, I think, are struggling with is when you look, it's not 10, 20 years ago where, you could just cast this huge net and you could just capture everybody.
Yeah.
Now it's you got, all these markets are all these target audiences are so fragmented. You got one over here, one over there. It's like fucking whack-a-mole, right? It's which one do you go after next, right? So it's being nimble, I think, is a very good way. Nimble being being a smaller company actually gives you more leverage to be able to go after these niche markets. And I think that's kind of the angle, that makes sense for him, my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think with this Steph situation, I agree with everything you said, because I don't know what another major brand, I don't know how much juice they're going to be able to squeeze out of that.
Right.
Because the stories and the storytelling that they want to do, the peak of his storytelling
is gone.
Power is, not that it's gone, but it's all attached to Under Armour.
Yeah.
So you're going to try and go back and sell us all these accolades and all that, and we're just going to remember that he was in Under Armour.
Yeah.
And you have 3 to 5 more years of trying to fit in all this dynastic we may not get, because the changing of the guard is here.